Ethan here with All Talk with Jeds. Today I will be reviewing UFC 239. I will be reviewing the fights that we previewed last week. So yeah, let's get started with the prelims. So let's start off with Claudia Gadelha versus Ronda Marcos. This fight was not entertaining at all. Claudia looked a little tentative in there, and Rondo couldn't really do much in there. It looked like Claudia might have been trying to preserve her gas tank a little bit, or just might have been tentative because of the kind of performances she's been putting on. She did get the win here, so that's good, but she is far off from the number one contender that we saw a couple years ago when she was fighting Joanna and Carolina and Jessica Andrade. I hope whatever she's got going on physically or mentally, good job, she gets past and we start seeing glimpses of that fighter that we saw a couple years ago. Because she could have been champion if Joanna wasn't around. So yeah, not that great of a fight, but Claudia got the win. Next fight we're going to go over is Gilbert Melendez versus Arnold Allen. This just kind of looked like this. It was one of those fights that's like, wow, this is a young man's game, because like I said in the preview, Gilbert Melendez has kind of been figured out, and Arnold Allen just pieced him up everywhere here. He outstruck him, and he even got the takedown in the third round, and Gilbert wasn't really able to produce much here. Looked very rudimentary, and yeah, I look forward to seeing a lot more of Arnold Allen at 145. And as far as Gilbert goes, I'd like to see him retire, especially since he hasn't taken too much damage over his career at this point. He's got the analyst gig with Dominic Cruz, so you know he's stable outside of fighting. And I think him and his wife also run El Nino Training Center in California. So yeah, I hope he retires. There probably is a couple options there for fights, but it would probably be against the only fights I'd like to see him in at this point would be guys that were in their prime around the same era he was in his prime with. I don't really want to see him against guys that are at their peak right now, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, good job to Arnold Allen, and yeah. Alright, first fight on the main card, we got Thiago Sanchez versus Michael Chiesa. In the preview, I kind of alluded to the fact that this fight would probably be very competitive in the grappling exchanges, but nah, Chiesa just kind of ragdolled him here. Chiesa's coming up. This was his second fight at 170, coming up from 155, and from this fight, you probably would have thought that he was coming down from 185 with how bad he ragdolled Diego here. As far as what's next for both guys, Michael Chiesa versus Damian Maia would probably be my obvious choice. A grappler's delight. I think Maia probably would be able to out-grapple him here, but Chiesa's tough, man. He could put the pace on Maia and put him away with hard strikes, you know. Even though he's not like the most sound on the feet, he does got certain attributes that he can hurt you on the feet. He even rocked George Mosby on their fight a couple years back. But yeah, that would probably be the most logical choice for him. As far as Thiago, once again, kind of like the Gilbert Melendez situation, maybe retirement, but with the way he's been talking in interviews, he has no intentions on doing so. So yeah, we'll see where both of these guys go from there. Alright, next fight is Jan Blachowicz versus Luke Rockhold. This was Luke Rockhold's first fight at light heavyweight, 205 pounds. I predicted that he would get the win here, but I don't know, man. He had some success with the clinch, but he wasn't really able to do much there, if that makes sense. And Jan, once he found his timing and range, it was just like, nope, you're in the wrong playground, buddy. And he just had his way with him from the end of the first round into the second round when he got the KO. Then he got the knockout with the solid left hook. Yeah. Like I said, I had Rockhold winning here, and I don't really know where he goes from here from a matchup standpoint, because he was pretty much done at 185, and we were saying, everybody was saying that, well, he's cutting too much weight here, so let's see him move up, and maybe that'll help with some potential chin issues that he had from cutting too much weight. But no, it's just he's a guy that's chinny, I guess. And yeah, as far as where Luke Rockhold goes from here, he can keep fighting at 205, but he's another guy too that he does got stuff going on outside of fighting. He is a professional model for Polo Ralph Lauren, so once again, he's stable outside of fighting. But I'll always watch Luke Rockhold fight. He's legit. As far as Jan Blachowicz goes, he's a perennial top 5 guy at this point with the wins he put on before the Thiago Santos fight and this win too, because people were saying that if Luke got past him, that would have been probably set up for a John Jones versus Luke Rockhold fight. So Jan put a stop to that. You could always do a title fight with the winner of the main event, but I'd like to see him get at least one more fight in against like a Shogun or somebody at that weight, But yeah, Jan got the brutal KO here, and we'll see what's next for those two guys. All right, up next, the one everybody's talking about after this event, George Masvidal versus Ben Askren. Oh man, that was brutal. I said in my I didn't expect this fight to go that way at all. I said in my preview that I'm a huge fan of Gamebred, but I was slightly favoring Askren here. Obviously, he was going to win with his grappling style, but in my head, if George was going to win, it was going to be from using his long-range strikes to keep Ben at bay and use his footwork to stay off the fence. But no, George came out the gate and just said, yeah, fuck any of that, and fuck you, fuck your face, you're getting knocked the fuck out right here, right now. And yeah, that was brutal, and that was nasty in every sense of the word. The way Ben fell, the way he looked after the KO, and if you guys can find it on social media, he looked pretty bad getting walked to the back too, because it looked like even though he was up on his feet, walking to the back, he was still out of it. He was still stiffened up, and he had that far away look in his eyes, like he had no idea where the hell he was after that. That's scary. Yeah, as far as CTE, concussions, and brain trauma goes, that's pretty scary. Never like to see that look, It's part of the sport, and knockout was entertaining, but yeah, that's always a scary look. George here in the pet. George this year has really set himself up nicely. Everything that happened in London earlier this year with Darren Till and Leon Edwards really set him up good. 3-piece in Minnesota has really launched off well. And then this being the fastest KO in UFC history as well, he's really probably went from journeyman to superstar just about overnight, I'd say. If he's not next in line for a title fight, maybe behind Colby Covington if he beats Robbie Lawler, then he's definitely next after Colby versus Kamaru happens. But I could definitely see him jumping in front of Colby and getting that fight, especially with, like I said, he's really propelled himself to that superstar level with this fight. As far as Ben Askren goes, I don't really have any matchups in mind, and obviously he's probably going to get a decently long injury suspension for this, and it's definitely needed. Just hope we see him recover and see him improve. I'm not a hater of Ben Askren. I don't mind his trash talk and all that, But when you do talk all that trash and somebody really don't like it and that happens, you gotta deal with the backlash, and I feel like he's handled it pretty well so far. Yeah, congrats to my guy Jorge Masvidal. All right, next we got the co-main event: Amanda Nunez versus Holly Holm. There's not really too much I can say about this fight. I was surprised that Amanda got the knockout, I guess, especially with the head kick. Holly Holm's forte, but this was just another legacy fight for her, man, and she looked impressive doing it too. She didn't run away with a decision victory or nothing. She knocked out a girl that hadn't been knocked out in MMA before, and like, there's really no question about it now. Not Ronda, not Cyborg. It's Amanda Nunez. That is your women's MMA go right there. She's got wins over Miesha Tate in the first round, Ronda Rousey in the first round, Chris Cyborg in the first round, and now Holly Holm in the first round. What's better than that? Who has a resume that can compete with that? And also, as far as what's next, my argument would be they're setting up her versus a Cyborg rematch, which is fine. I would like to see her go for a 125-pound title fight if she can make the weight. If it's a tough weight cut, then don't do it. But if she can get down and face Valentina for a third time, that's another one. She does got wins over Valentina. That's a good add to the resume. But anyway, if she can get down and face Valentina, that'd be another good fight too. In my opinion, Valentina's the only one that's really came close to solving that Amanda Nunez riddle during her current run. And I like both fighters. I think any time they fight, that's going to be a good fight. Even if the second fight was not that entertaining, it was a good technical fight, and I enjoy little intricacies of the technical stuff like that. So, yeah, congrats to Amanda Nunez. And as far as Holly Holm goes, Dana White alluded to potential retirement. I don't know if that's the way to go here. I feel like she's kind of in a Frankie Edgar predicament where she's probably always going to be 1 or 2 fights away from a title fight at either weight, whether it's 145 or 135. But, we'll see. I don't really have no ideas on any specific matchups. But, yeah, congrats to Amanda Nunez. And that's your women's MMA GOAT right there. All right, the main event. Jon Jones versus Thiago Santos. Man, obviously both guys got hurt. Thiago got hurt earlier on trying to attempt a kick, and Jon got hurt somewhere in there. You could tell by the way he was walking after the fight and how he needed his coaches to walk him out of the octagon. But I kind of went overboard with like my opinions on the Jon Jones GOAT thing last week, but they're still stuck here. In my opinion, even after both men got injured, Jones should have done more to solidify like a dominant. It didn't have to be a finish. He should have done more to solidify a dominant victory. I feel like if he would have pressed for a takedown or something, he could have got an easy KO, TKO, or a submission victory. But nah, he chose to try to play around with a former 185er, and that's not me discrediting Thiago Santos, especially his size. He's built for a 205er. He's a pretty sizable guy, but like, when you compare this to the guys Jon was facing a couple years ago, there's just no reason for him to stay at a light heavyweight at this point, man. Like I said, the only one I'm really interested in would probably be Johnny Walker, but I feel like he's a couple fights off from that, give or take. The one I could see that would probably be next for him at 205 would be Jan, maybe. I don't know. I'll probably look at the rankings after this and see like who would be next in line. But yeah, that's the only one that comes to mind right now. In my opinion, though, I think Jon should move up to heavyweight. It doesn't have to be a super fight with DC, but I'm not arguing against it neither. But John versus any top 10 heavyweight at this point. You got a bunch of them that aren't available right now. Francis, JDS, Cain Velasquez whenever he heals up from his injury. Alistair Overeem, I think he's available right now. Yeah, there's a ton of guys available at heavyweight right now, man. And I feel like now, between the Anthony Smith fight and this fight, now's the time to make that move to heavyweight. I don't really care to see a rematch of this fight, even though it's a split decision. But as far as what's next for Thiago Santos, he's got a bunch of options, man. The split decision, really probably garnered him some attention here, so he'll probably stay up in that upper echelon for a little bit. I wouldn't mind a rematch with him and Anthony Smith. They fought at 185, so that'd be a solid match between two top 5 205ers right there. But yeah, in my opinion, now's the time for John Jones to move up to heavyweight.